From the time I was very young, I would hear the same petitions at every Sunday Mass, that the Lord would provide more vocations to the priesthood and religious life. Elderly women clung to their rosaries begging for vocations. Families took home vocation chalices or a special parish crucifix each week to plead for more priests and religious. Because so many of them saw what Jesus Christ saw, that the harvest was abundant. Who would bring the sacrament of confession to those dying alone in the hospitals? Who would go into the city streets and the shanties of the modern world, echoing the words of Jesus Christ? Who would bring the Eucharist to those locked away and forgotten in their prison cells? Who would celebrate the Masses for their children and their grandchildren? The harvest was abundant, but would the Lord send new laborers into the fields? In recent years, the Lord has heard the whispered pleas of his people. He's called men to hearken to the challenge of the gospel and follow in the footsteps of St. Francis of Assisi. This past year, for the first time in the history of our province, the Capuchins ordained 3 men to the priesthood and received the solemn vows of 5 more. The Lord has poured out his grace like fresh rains upon the dry, barren earth. The shoots have burst up through the soil, stretching toward the sun with new life and vigor. And it's these men, these that have responded to the call of Christ, who will go out into the flaxen fields of tomorrow, who will go out to reap the harvest, which is ever abundant. We can truly say that it is because of your prayers and your support that God has made this possible. Jesus assured us, the poor you will always have with you. And today the poverty of neglect and the tyranny of a meaningless secularism have poisoned the fields of God's pastures like never before. Never has the hunger for truth been greater. Never has the need of the gospel been more paramount. Never has the witness of sacrifice and sanctity been so preeminent. God has heard your prayers. God has sent out new laborers for his harvest. These men, clad in simple brown and vowed to a life of prayer and simplicity, will be sent out 2 by 2 into the shimmering fields of tomorrow, going where so few want to go, and bearing that consuming fire of God's love for his people. Your prayers and your support have made this possible. And we beg you to persevere in your prayer, because the need for laborers is greater than ever, and the harvest has never been more abundant than now.
I learned that God is love.
God is a loving Father.
God is my person.
God is right next to me.
God is real.
God is great.
God is beautiful.
God is love.